Okay, here we go. Hold tight. Super fast ride. We're going to try and cover this Georgia Guidestone thing very, very quickly. The reason why I'm covering this is because this relates back to the stuff that I've been covering in previous videos. This relates to what I believe the main event will be, the twin event with the 2001 Space Odyssey event of 9/11. I believe this is a precursor event to that, another clue, another little breadcrumb, and that's why I'm talking about it now. In fact, I think I mentioned in previous videos that the 6th of July would be a date to keep your ears and eyes open for something to happen. But again, not the main event. And so we've not been disappointed. We've gotten something here. The whole Georgia Guidestone thing, this demolition job, right, to happen on the 6th of July. And the significance of 6th of July is, of course, the 18th of July. If you put those numbers together, 7 and the 1 and the 8, or 8, 1, 1, 8, 7, is you get the murder, death, kill, the code for homicide, okay? Now, in previous videos, we've done all the hidden codes in the dollar bill, the dartboard, and now we've got this next little tidbit to sort of run through, okay? And how it links to 187. Because July the 6th, sorry. July the 6th is the 187th day of the year, okay? With the same set of numbers here, 178 days remaining in the year, okay? So we've got a very nice little link. What's more is, some other channels have gone on about the George Bush link, but it's not just George W. Bush, okay, that was born on this day. There's several other people, and what's interesting is this dude here, Sylvester Stallone, okay, because we could start calling these dudes the Demolition Twins now, because we've got George W. Bush with the one big demolition job, okay, and then we've got Sylvester Stallone, Demolition Man, okay, remember that film? I've mentioned it a few times now, because in that film, Demolition Man, this thing is like pops up in a big way. The 187, the murder, death, kill. People haven't, in the future that are living in so-called paradise, they don't even know what a 187 is, So this thing is, all of alarm bells are ringing when this thing starts happening, when Wesley starts killing people. Now, so we have another nice link to 187, okay? It's a really nice link, and we have it via the Demolition Twins here, okay? Demo Twins. All right, now, this is not really the bulk of the video, okay? Because we're going to link this back to 9/11, back to Elvis. We're going to do several different links in here, okay? The first thing we've got to ask ourselves, though, is why is this thing even at the forefront of the truther community? Because it's not really much of an anything, Look at it, there's some people stood here so you can get a scale of the thing, but it's not really one of the 7 wonders of the world, is it? Let's be honest, it's nothing really to write home about. Yet most truthers will have heard about this thing, and it's been pushed that way. It's what Matt might call a reality breakdown, I guess, because this thing, does it really warrant the story that's behind it? And I don't think it does. It's a video for another day, but if we go to the rules that are on there, the guidelines, there's maybe the only one really that could be close to being deemed satanic, or you could get away with calling this thing satanic, is this right here. Putting an arbitrary figure on the population of the world, or of Earth. Um, I mean, if you read into this and you actually stop and think about it and actually contemplate what this is talking about here, this perpetual balance with nature, this part, that's actually what God intended. So we can't really be calling that satanic. So to flat out call the whole thing satanic or something to do with the New World Order, well, there is a New World Order coming, but it's not the New World Order that people are telling you is going to take over the world and control you. The New World Order that's coming actually needs to be nature. That's really the New World Order that we need to be looking at, yeah? When Bruce travels to the future, nature's in charge, okay? I'm thinking 12 Monkeys now. But again, here we go. The monument sponsors, right here, we've got this line here, the inscriptions are meant to guide humanity to conserve nature after a nuclear war. I mean, come on. So there's some relevance, okay? But what I'm saying, the point that I'm trying to make is that this thing has been deemed satanic in order to get it into truth of consciousness, yeah? In order for people to pay attention to it, it's got to be a bit controversial, okay? And so maybe this was slapped in there just so that so that it was an excuse to do that. I mean, there's a few other things in here that could guide reproduction wisely. I mean, if we're in perpetual balance with nature, then reproduction is guided wisely because nature is the thing that balances man's population and who should be in the upon the earth, so to speak. Again, a new living language would be natural law, the language of natural law, the language which is outside the window, the thing that's set in stone out there with it, within the atomic structure of the surroundings. Yeah, that is natural law. The physical world, that's actually our salvation, is the law that's contained there. So nature is the salvation that we're looking for in more ways than one. And so if you go back down through all these things, they've picked out that there's 10, supposedly, a bit like the 10 Commandments. And again, the 10 Commandments is all about balance and nature. This is not what this video is about, but what I'm trying to point out here is that this thing has really been pushed when, as something satanic. I know it's got the Mason symbol on it, and anything back in a few years ago, anything Masonic was automatically deemed satanic, I think, by the truthers. I think we're beyond that now, aren't we? This thing, so let's just push that aside, that whole idea. And so we've got this thing that's come to our attention, okay? It's a guidestone, right? And a guide, it may be guiding us in more ways than one, okay? Because the way this is written, for people that know about natural law, the way that this is written is a little wishy-washy, to say the least. And I think it's done that way because I think it's done that way to send the message of natural law here, but but being able to have some kind of controversy in here, because this is this starting statement here is a bit of a contradiction in terms of the way nature works. So it's either somebody naive or it's deliberately done that way. Yeah, that's written this thing. I happen to believe it's deliberately done that way, and that this thing's been brought into the consciousness, at least of truthers, because it might be a little bit of an in-your-face thing. Again, truthers are going on about this, that, and the other with this thing when they've, okay, you may be missing kind of some of the other clues that are there because you've got so caught up in the negative thing again, which is not really a thing, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I'm waffling way too much. Let's jump on to the actual. That's not a very good picture of it, so we'll go back to this picture. Let's just look at the actual shape of this thing, and then we'll look at the what got destroyed, and we'll connect that back to the 187 and the 76, back to my chart of Lorraine, and things will become very interesting, and especially as we look at this thing on a map. This is stuff that other channels have not really been talking about. I will be discussing a couple of things from other channels, and I'll give credit where necessary, but that's coming up in a little bit. So let's look at this thing. We got all kinds of stuff going on. Number one, we got 4 pillars, which straight away I'm thinking of the 4 columns that are at the Hoover Dam, but I don't really want to go into that. These monolith structures here that forms one giant monolith, but we have the monoliths of 2001. I mean, you cannot deny that. Looking at that, it just screams 2001, right? A Space Odyssey. Okay, so we're getting the links back to Odysseus here, okay? And the links are going to be coming thick and fast here in a minute with the Odysseus theme, okay? Again, we have the Twin Towers on each side. We have man in the middle, Tower 7. We have man in the middle. And here's, again, we've got the wire going across the 2 twin towers here. Man on wire. Man on wire's upside down here. Man's hanging on hangman on wire right now. And of course, 2001, if you would look at that event as the birth of man into the Matrix, okay, which it could be deemed that way, because we of course had the jumpers and we had the hangman coming down in that image, and the hangman, again, when you are born, you're coming out head first, you're dropping head first, okay, the fall of man, okay, so that would be the fall into the Matrix. This is when man falls, when we go into the Matrix, when we go into the man-made world, we start having problems, okay. So if 9/11 is that ritual event, his, this is man stuck, yeah, in that, stuck in the Matrix now, and we're waiting for the rebirth of man. So man has to symbolically die with the 187 in order to come out of the Matrix. So this is what I think we're going to be witnessing, is the destruction, really, of the Matrix. Yeah, that's the half of man that needs to die, that Matrix half, okay, without getting too complicated here. But we've got lots of different things going on. So we've got the 2001 thing. We've got this symbolizes man here in the middle, because it's the phallic symbol again. This would be the Vesica Pisces, okay, the thing that balances both sides of reality, okay, and that's that doorway. Yeah, that's what that's shaped like. There is the doorway, the screen that we have to go through, okay. But what we actually need to be is, we actually need to be right here. We actually need to balance both sides of reality, okay. That is the Vesica Pisces. That is the bullseye. The thing that we have to shoot through is the very thing we actually need to be at that point. That is the balance point between the physical and the metaphysical, right? So that's the actual place where we need to be, interestingly enough. And so we have that going on here. So this is the Vesica Pisces. It also forms the T, the cross of Christ. I mean, we could go on for hours just on the shapes here. Again, there's 2 more pillars behind these 2 at the front, and it forms, if you were to look down on it, it forms another X, okay. X marks the spot. We've got 1 arrowhead here, a V here, and we've got a V here, if you can get what I'm saying, if we were to look down on this thing, okay. So we have the A for Adam and the V for Eve, okay, the valley, the womb, and the phallic symbol again for man, for the physical man. That's our salvation, is using the physical world around us. That's our actual salvation in terms of physical nature, okay, because that's where the rules of nature are written in stone. That is what should be governing us, not other man-made arbitrary rules or arbitrary figures like the 500 million that's on here, okay. Now, What's interesting is if we go to look at the, let's look at what I want to go to. I don't want to go to the map yet. Let's look at the picture of it blown up. Okay, is that this? So you can see what I'm saying about this would form a cross here or an X. Okay, and interestingly enough, as this thing's blown up, we now have a pyramid on top. We have a pyramid reference here. We have a triangle. Okay, now as this thing's blown up, we can definitely see some twin tower. This looks better for the twin tower symbolism here. And of course with the rubble at the bottom, interesting. But what do I want to say about this? And we also have the twin tower again. We also have the twin tower referenced with the negative space here as well, just out of interest. And again, we have some other interesting references with the post office box and the slot and the eclipse that's formed in here. You know, you kind of get that illusion in with the holes that are drilled in this thing as well. So, but I don't want to go into all of that stuff. We really want to focus in on this twin tower thing here, because I'm going to, with some careful deduction, and I don't know if I'm right on this, but we can deduce that I guess which monolith here, which monolith was destroyed, which part of this thing was destroyed. And so if we look from the road, and actually this isn't a good shot, but if we actually look from, what I actually want to look from is, I had another picture up, and this is looking down on the thing. We can actually deduce that the when we're looking at this thing, the monolithic the monolith that's facing this little, I don't know what you call it, a plaque, and there's a little square in the field here. But we can deduce that it's kind of this one that's coming out this way, okay? This being north. And so what we've got is one coming out this way. Now, I don't know if these things are, to me, it doesn't look like these things are on a north, south, east, west axis, but they may be. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure about this, but it appears to be the one that's at least coming this way, okay? If you can follow what I'm saying. This will become significant because if I go back to the chart of Lorraine now, if I go to this chart of what I call the double cross of Lorraine, it's a bunch of balancing numbers, okay? And within this, I've talked about a what would I call it? A cross that's in here, okay? X marks the spot, okay? And we have some interesting numbers with this X marks the spot, because we have the 187 going this way, and we have the 911, 711 part-time job event going this way, okay? Going the other way on the cross, we have the 33 coming across with the 11 again, and the 23 and the 53, okay? And so this would be the leg that was blown up. And just to clarify this, I've just got this down here. Forget this other stuff about Elvis. We'll get onto that in a minute. But I've got these numbers written out so you can see them. Yeah, the 187 here, the 911, 711, the 33, and then these numbers here. We're going to talk about these numbers here to do with Elvis here in a minute. Okay, but this is the leg that was, I think, was destroyed. Okay, at least that's what I'm going with. Okay, so what we're left with, if we're looking at the thing, we were left with this one and this one, which is 911 balancing over with 187, okay, which what I think is the 18th of July. So with that being said, okay, and we're looking at that, okay, does this mean that, boy, what one was I on? Does this mean that we are being shown something here? Yeah, it's like pages of a book. You know, this is the start, this is the finish. Okay, are we being shown the twins here again? Are we being shown the event that wraps up the beginning and the end? I don't know. It's just something that I thought was interesting, and because it was this one that I thought was destroyed. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. That the 2-3 and the 5-3, I'm like, wow, that reminds me of the Elvis numbers, because in Elvis, I just a few weeks ago, and I meant to do a video on this and this is actually dropped on. I dropped a comment on this video of 88 Finiston Porus's Elvis code video, because again that ties back to 2001. Okay, thank you, Finiston Porus, because this is says in his later years, Elvis Presley would open his shows with the theme from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and in fact, Jurassic Liars also talks about this. I don't know who came up with that first, but anyway. I put a comment on there, and I meant to do a video on the breakdown of this comment, because this is all bits and pieces that are in previous videos of mine, and I kind of just put it in one comment here. And I'm thinking, when I saw that the 2-3 and the 5-3 side of that thing, or the side of the X, be destroyed, I'm like, that speaks to me about Elvis, you know. And so the other interesting thing with that as well is, if you look on the map, if we just zoom out just a couple of clicks here, Highway 77 is right next to this thing. So with the 77 and Elvis's death date, you know, that's interesting again. So I'm starting to get some hints of Elvis, and then JL also was talking about Elvis in his video, and I'm like, you know, I really need to put this bit of the code into this video so that people can be aware of it at least. So we'll go back to our little picture here, and where this code comes from is, if you take the name Elvis and have a mirror, what we're mirrored with is 2-1. We can pull out some numbers, but you can see that this S turns into a 2 or a 5, depending on which way around it is. And we can pull out this 2-1-3 from this. I don't know if you can see this, but when we mirror it, we can pull out this 2-1-3. And in fact, we can kind of combine this one that's in the middle, because again, we're on a teeter-totter pivot point here. And so we can kind of fudge this pretty well, I think, and get the 2-1-3 out of it. Okay, and so, you know, this link to 2-1-3, and if you don't know what the significance of 2-1-3 is, again, go watch previous videos of mine. It's a super significant number, and I believe it's the middle marker date between 9/11 and the 18th of July. Okay, and I'm going to show you why that is here as well in a minute with this stuff, because okay, so we pull that middle date out, and the middle date, let's just go from 9/11 to the 18th of July first, and that happens to be that happens to be 310 days. Okay, right? And I've just pulled out that 13 right here. I've just spun numbers around and made a 31. Okay, and we can add a 0 on pretty easy. So there's a total jump of 310 days from 9/11 to 187. Okay, I'm just going to call that date 187. So, and actually I've got them down here. So from this date to this date is a 310 day jump. Look, we've got the 3-1 right here again, the 3-1 of Elvis here. Okay, so we've got these numbers for Elvis right here, and the 2-1-3 right in here, and the 5-3 as well. Okay, this 5 here and the 5-3. Okay, so I want to make clear that these numbers, this is hugely significant with Elvis. Okay, and between these two dates is 310 days, and then we can subdivide that again around this date here. Okay, this is the splitter date. The 2-1-3 is the splitter date of this, which makes 155. Now we can pull out 11 and a 5 here from Elvis again. Okay, and that 11 and 5 is the 5th of November. That's the remember date. And if we take that 5th of November and this date, that's this 155, which happens to be encoded in the dollar bill and several other places, but if we take that date there, you know, it's the 1SS, the ISIS, You'll see all this stuff. The clues, the amount of clues are just endless almost. But I can't remember to put every single thing in every video. It's in a previous video if I've not mentioned it here. But the ISIS with the Remembrance Day, these two combine to form 666. These are twin days, and if you remember on the chart where we got these numbers from, let's go back to the chart. Here they are. Yeah, the ISIS number and the 5th of November are right here. And here's the cross here. Okay, so it's super significant. These are I'm not these are numbers that I've come up with based around the Fibonacci sequence and based around Lucas numbers, and I've just followed on logically from that, and it's just amazing what's come from that in terms of like a code key here or whatever you want to call it, the Gray's Almanac if you like. But let's go back to this again. Actually, what was I on this paint? And if we add up two lots of 155, so if we go 155 days, it takes us to 213 from 9/11. And if we go another 155 days, okay, it takes us to this date here. So we're going in here, we've got this 155 that would be here, right? And we're going 155 days to this date, and then we're going another 155 days, and it takes us to this date. So it's absolutely insane, the links to this, right, with what I call the Elvis code, right? Now, there's something else with Elvis, and I'll do it now because this was in JL's video on the Guidestones, and it was something that I hadn't come across before, and I'm like, wow, that is super, super interesting. Thank you, JL, for this little bit of information. And it's this, basically. The first time Elvis records a record is July 18th, right? The date in question. And we've even got 53 on here as well, which is, again, interesting, again, with those numbers we were just looking at. So, he happens to be 18 years old at this point, I think. And look at the titles of these songs. My Happiness, and then That's When Your Heartaches Begin. I mean, you can read into those titles what you want. I'm not going to explain them, but it's super interesting. And for this date to pop up, as is kind of the first time he makes a record, that is super significant in my book. Yeah, super, super significant. I don't know. I mean, I've not really gone in and studied Elvis. I mean, it'd be interesting now to go and look at when he, his last date that he did a recording, I guess. That might be an interesting date. I don't know. But anyway, needless to say, we've got another tie back to the 18th of July here, right? So anyway, where do I go from here? There's so many links. While I'm on the Elvis thing, and I'm thinking about 2001 with him using that music at the start of his shows. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to link back to what do I want to do here? I'm just thinking for a second. Gosh, Dan, I don't know where I want to go from here. There was something I was wanting to say, and now I've completely gone blank on it. Let's just jump to. Let me think. Let's just jump to. Oh, let's jump back to the map. Yeah, because this is what I wanted to go to. I want to zoom out of here because everybody's going on about this address with the Georgia Guidestones. Okay, where is it? Elberton. Okay, Elberton. Now, if we zoom out on the map, Okay, and I want to change filters here so it's not quite so scattered in terms of quite so cluttered. If we zoom out on the map, yeah, and we find Elberton, okay, which we can do pretty easily. Here's Elberton, right? But when I zoomed out and looked at the map, I immediately saw this Bowman. Okay, on the theme of Odysseus. Odysseus is the bowman on the theme of 2001, which is all about the Odyssey. It's all about Odysseus, Dave Bowman finding himself, being reborn. Bowman, okay? Odysseus is the bowman. Odysseus is the reference to the arrow shooting up through the Vesica Pisces, okay? It seems to me, I mean, I'm not measured this, but it seems to me that the Georgia Guidestones are actually closer to Bowman than Elberton, or whatever you call that. And so, I'm kind of like, man, that is something significant there, okay? And I'm like, well, I zoomed out a little bit further because I was like, well, what else is around here? And you can see it. You can see it right now. Oh, we're back. This whole reference with Odysseus and the Greeks and all the rest of it. We've got Athens right here. You can't believe it. You just cannot believe it. Okay? I mean, I haven't looked over here at what's over here. Spartanburg. I mean, this is just on the fly now, guys. I mean, I'm not. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just. Who's he going to rescue? The Queen of. Is it? I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the Trojan War now and why that all started and everything else. Guess what else we got up here? Look, Homer and the Odyssey. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know, man. I don't know what else to say about it other than they've picked a good location, haven't they, with the names here? To look at this dewy rose here as well. To kind of reference Odysseus, and the whole Greek mythology type thing. What else do I want to say about this? So, I mean, that's covered as well. Okay, so if we didn't have a few other links here, we've got several little links. Okay. What else do I want to talk about? I want to talk about one more connection with the connecting back to the to this day here, the 18th, yeah, the 199th day of the year, okay, which is in our chart here, the 199th day of the year, okay, and this is all explained. All the connections here are explained. The connections to the if we scroll across, the connections to the dartboard, yeah, and the connections to the $1 bill with the 155 jump. What we need to do, let's just go back, hang on a second, let's just go back to this. So this day here, which I think is the main event right here, the 199, and how all those different jumps connect together. We can also do some 55-day jumps, right? And if we go from 9/11, in fact, we're not really talking about this date anymore up here, the 6th anymore. We've just made the connection that is 187 and that this is 187 as well, okay? But if we go 55 days from 9/11 forward, that takes us to the 5th of November, yeah? If we go 55 days back, that brings us to this day, okay? This is 55 days back is from 9/11 is this date. So they're separated by 55 days as well. So we go 155 on to 213. We go another 155 days, and then the 55 days is in between these two things. And then 55 days from 9/11 takes us to November the 11th. November the 5th, sorry. And then if we go back 55 days from this day, it takes us back to another significant day. Okay, because if we go back 55 days from, I've got it written in here, it takes us back to May the 24th. And so people are probably saying, what was May the 24th? Well, May the 24th was this event. Yeah, was the Bob event. Okay, May the 24th. Yeah, and I happened to put Rob Elementary in the Gemartrinator, for those of you that are interested. And Rob Elementary comes out at 1:55. And we even have the 223 in there, the 322. So super interesting. We even have a 7-9, which can be can be changed to blah 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 76. Interestingly as well is we break down the word. We've got the 37 again with Elvis, the 37 this time at the start of Elvis, and the 118. Okay, so these are all numbers, all significant numbers. I also had, I don't know if you can make this out down here, but I put GBI in there because GBI shows up in the images for that. GBI is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and it's in big bold print in several of the news media shots. And again, GBI is 18, 18, 18, and the 63, okay? And again with the 63, the 633 Squadron, again, that's harking back to the trench run, and of course the trench run, the arrow going up between the legs, between the V, the trench run is that thing going up between there, between the legs, and then hitting the Vesica Pisces, hitting the dam, hitting the V2 rocket launch site, hitting the underground bunker in Maverick, hitting the central core of the Death Star. It's all it's all the same idea. This is why these films all use the same. It's all to do with this is the final. This is the final run now. Okay. So anyway, So you can see, I really need to do a video on Maverick, because Bob shows up in Maverick as well. That film, for anybody interested, is well worth a watch. It's actually a good film in its own right. I've just given you a bit of a spoiler with the trench run, but it's a good film, and it is absolutely chock loaded with references. Absolutely, right from the get-go, it is absolutely loaded with references. We've got the Man Who Fell to Earth referenced in there. We've even got a nice little, right at the start of that, we've even got a nice little reference back to Supertramp when I don't really want to spoil the video because the film for people, but there's a nice little reference in there when he takes a drink when he gets back to Earth. The spaceman gets back to Earth, and there's an orange juice on the tray of the waitress in the diner. There's an absolute ton of stuff in there. We've got Jennifer Connelly in it. She's absolutely loaded in terms of symbolism. And there's a bunch of other people that are symbolically in there as well. It's just absolutely chock-block full loaded of stuff. Unfortunately, to do a video on it would take forever because there's so much stuff in it. But anyway, I think I've pretty much done this one to death. I don't think there's anything really more I want to say about this. I really wanted to keep this video short, and of course, the significance of this Rob Elementary is, did I say this? Is, again, if we go back to 55 days, we get back to that date. So it's another little precursor event, if you like. It's a little guide event again. And so I think I'm going to leave it there, to be quite honest. There's some bits and bobs in here that I really haven't I mean, you know, I could have gone into the name George again, and Geo and the Earth, and the Earthman again, the Earth being back to the center of balance, and the St. George's Cross, and I could do all those links, but it's all in previous videos, you know. I'm assuming that if you're watching this, you've seen all the previous videos, and you already know those things that I've talked about. So please leave a comment if there's something you don't understand, if there's something that I've said wrong, or you know, and it does help to put comments on there so other people can see the videos, because I don't really do much promoting anymore, and that's pretty much probably why these videos don't get too many views, apart from they're all over the place and they're a bit, you know, hard to follow. But once you've got the basic understanding of some of these dates and things, actually this stuff is very easy to understand. It's very easy to follow once you know a few key things. It's actually not that bad. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you on the next one, hopefully. I will say this, there is another interesting date coming up. Do I think something's going to happen on this day here, which is 157? Okay, so the 15th might be a day that something, we might have another little event, because again, the 15th is, we're in line here with the 310, which is that whole jump leap, because if you use this as a table, like what I'd call like a times table, and you reference the 3 and the 10 here, you get down to the 157, which is half of pi, interestingly. So of course pi is hugely referenced. Again, look at previous videos, but here with this day here, the 15th, we may see another little, I don't know what, blip event, another little breadcrumb event, okay? Because again, 310, 2 lots of 155, you know, we're going 310 days. So it's a nice, it's a date that references this date. Good, it references this date. You know, they all tie together, okay? So again, watch out for this date, but this is the one that we're in, that we're keeping our eye on really, is the 18th of July. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Be well, keep safe, and yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Okay, alright, cheers, bye.